Chapter 1: The History of the Philippines. How does somebody go about this? Well, he sticks his head into Wikipedia a little bit, dips his head into the making of the modern Philippines, and then generally pulls the rest out of his bumhole. In Chapter 1, let's discuss the shape and background of the Philippines, where the Philippines stretches from north to south a total distance of 1,600 kilometers. To give you a better understanding of that distance, it's the same as Edinburgh to Barcelona or Philadelphia to Miami, depending on whether you're European or American. That'll give you a good idea. So 7,000 plus islands scattered around a large basin on the outskirts of Southeast Asia. Predominantly, it's a shallow range of ocean and water in or around the islands themselves. If you imagine it like an upside down bowl, the islands are in shallow water, and then there's these very deep trenches that skirt around the circumference, which made it quite handy for the seafaring people of the early 9th and 10th centuries. Where did they come from? The original Filipinos. Where did they come from? Well, that's something that's much in dispute. They are a people of Malay/Austronesian descent. What the fuck does that mean? What the hell does that mean, huh? Malaysian, that's the word Malay. It comes from Malaysian. And then, of course, Austroasian is originating from China and that general region. So a couple of people came from up north, and a couple of people came from Malaysia, so a little bit over to the west, and then they all rendezvoused in a big gang of islands and procreated. So what you'd have then is just a big massive mixed bag. You can throw into that the Javanese influence too. So there you have it. In 1521, right after a significant length of time when there was very little available to discern either political or economic circumstances at the time, because they didn't write anything down. They didn't have reading or writing before the Spanish arrived. So there was very little to tell when what happened before. But your man Ferdinand Magellan, who originally is the man awarded eminence for rounding the Cape of Good Hope. I remember that myself from the history books way back when. Ferdinand Magellan, didn't he round the Cape of Good Hope, which is the southernmost point of Africa? He did indeed. And then he got back on his boat and he went to the Philippines. He landed in the Philippines in 1521 with a slave. Now, where he got this slave, his slave's name was Enrique. Enrique was originally of Malay descent, so he could speak a little bit of Tagalog and what have you. When Ferdinand arrived, him and his gang were much depleted. They had lost one ship and had overcome a mutiny, so they were fairly knackered by the time they got to the Philippines. They made their way to Cebu, where they met with a ramshackle gang under the rule of Lapu-Lapu. Lapu-Lapu now is an area of Cebu City, but Lapu-Lapu back then was the name of the tribal leader. Anyway, he had a gang of boys that attacked the depleted sea force of Magellan's, right? So when they got there, they were fairly weak on their legs, right? They were attacked by these individuals under
Lapu-Lapu rule. Ferdinand was killed. Enrique escaped. All hell broke loose until further Spanish ships arrived, until more Spanish ships arrived, and then things changed. It was said later that it was quite easy to take over the Philippines for the Spanish because the hierarchical system was such that there was a ruling elite that were not in the good graces of the majority population. So when a big gang of Spanish people came and overpowered them, not much was said about it. And because there was already a pronounced hierarchical structure there, Spanish rule was actually quite easy compared to their other colonial conquests. The Spanish brought with them Christianity, which at the time didn't have too much bother spreading about. The Filipinos, who were gifted in the art of boat making and handicrafts, and also actually had a surprisingly large amount of gold and silver jewellery, they took very well to Christianity because of the dancing and the music. They delighted in the traditional Christian ceremony of the 16th century, whatever version the Spanish brought to the Philippines. It was taken up with gusto.